Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So here we go. Let me introduce Matt Rogers. Matt Rogers hails from Gainesville, Florida. He got his BS and MS at Carnegie Mellon in computer and mechanical engineering. He started as an intern at Apple and worked his way all the way up to a senior manager. And he left in 2010 to co-found Nest Labs, which we're going to talk about here tonight. Nest is based here in Palo Alto. They have received funding from some of the best venture capitalists in the world, including Kleiner Perkins, Lightspeed, Shasta, and Google Ventures. So let's give a big Startup Grind welcome for Matt Rogers. Here we go.
Like Bono.
Well, welcome.
Thanks. Great to be here.
The Palo Alto Bono.
I feel like Bono. This is great.
Well, thanks for coming. We like to start Startup Grinds with kind of getting to know you a little bit better. Tell us about Gainesville. Tell us about where you grew up.
Yeah.
Tell us about your family and what your dad did for work.
Yeah, so Gainesville's a small college town in Florida. Really not much to speak of other than swamps, alligators, and the college. Like, it's a big party school, and there's a pretty big engineering school there, actually. I'll get to that, actually. It all comes together. So as a kid, I loved Macs. I was a big Mac fan. Like, at 3, I had a Mac Plus, and I didn't know what to do with it, really, but moving the mouse around was a lot of fun. And
you just had it sitting there? Or
oh, yeah, well, like in 1985, there weren't too many games yet.
Yeah.
Like, there was this game called Dark Castle, which is like a nice black and white game where you'd shoot rocks at aliens and monsters and stuff.
Yep.
And I was really horrible, and my dad basically did it all for me. But it got me thinking, and growing up, I loved Apple. It was kind of my dream job. Like, when people asked me, like, as a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, some people said fireman, some said policeman, some said, I'd say I want to work at Apple.
Huh.
And I did, which was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. I basically spent a lot of my early years math, science, math team, academic team, all those kind of things. And in high school, our high school decided and asked a few of the students, would you want to start a robotics club? And there's this program that actually is really popular now called FIRST. Dean Kamen, DECA founder, started this program for basically high school kids to get involved with robotics. It's a kind of a competition that they try to model after, like, a giant football competition, that, like, there's stadiums and fans and cheering, and to get people excited about engineering. And it was awesome. So we basically, first team at the high school, had to scrap together kind of some funding to put it together, because we really had nothing to start with.
This is when? You're how old at this point?
16.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a blast. So we built a small team at the high school with a bunch of the students, built a robot, threw balls into this little tray 10 feet high, and we lost. It was great. But it was a lot of fun doing it, and that's when I decided I'm going to go build robots. So it all comes full circle.
Talk to us about that. So what did you do from there? Did you build anything else? Did you wait till you got to college, or what did you do?
So this first program is a yearly thing. So
okay.
As soon as FIRST released their kind of new program, new team, put together the plan, started working the designs, wrote the code, and actually for our second year, we placed first in our region, which was really cool.
Wow.
Second year team, it was really exciting. And
this is when you're 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
And same year, I was also applying to schools, and I was like, I'm going to go build robots. Like, where do you go to build robots? And there's like only 3 schools where you go to build robots. And Carnegie Mellon is one of the best schools for robotics. And I was really excited. I got in to go build robots.
Huh.
Yeah. So
that's like a major, or?
So it was a minor. Like, I think it's a major now. Like for those who want to go to Carnegie Mellon now, like, you could do a major in robotics, which is a kind of a mix of electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science.
Sure.
Which is a lot of what it takes to build consumer products.
Yeah.
Right. So got there and spent my first year just doing, like, kind of intro classes, programming, electrical board design, and kind of CAD stuff for mechanical design. And my first year was really hard, the usual college business, and really didn't get out much, and spent a lot of time in computer clusters, as you can imagine. And then second year, we had this, it was a class by Howie Choset, who's, some of you guys may have heard of him. He's a really famous robotics professor. He's done tons of kind of programs to get young people involved in robotics as well. And it was a kind of intro to robotics class where you build robots out of Legos. And you use like basically like a upgraded Mindstorm kit to build something that was autonomous, that would navigate a maze or accomplish some goal. And you'd have to do it in 2 weeks. And there's a new goal every 2 weeks, and you'd have to reprogram your robot every 2 weeks to do this.
Wow.
And I was like, this is awesome. Like, it was really aggressive, like small teams. So each team was a software guy, a hardware guy, and a mechanical engineer. And every week you have to go build a new robot. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm doing robotics. This is it. And I cold called a professor at CMU, Yoki Matsuoka, who was doing these crazy things in biomedical robotics, where a human brain could control a hand, like a robotic hand, not like a real hand. That's kind of easy, actually. Like doping rats with cocaine to get them to control things. It was like crazy shit going on. And I was like, I want to help. How can I get involved? I'm a sophomore. I have no experience.
Yeah.
How can I get in? She's like, you could help draw bones in CAD for our robotic hand project. I'm like, I'm in. It's great. All comes full circle. So I spent a lot of time with Yoki. I actually ended up working there for a summer as well. And it was very soon that first summer working in kind of the lab building a robotic finger that I realized I could not build a career in robotics. Like, this is not.
Why not?
Very academic.
Okay.
Lots of research. Not a lot of great companies in robotics. At least not yet. I mean, maybe one day there will be.
Yeah.
But today there's very few. There's basically iRobot out of Boston, and there's really not too many others, right? There's kind of maybe a handful. And I realized, I need to have a career. I need to start building stuff that's going to sell in the millions. How am I going to do that? And the next year, I applied for an internship at Apple in the iPod team. This is back before iPod was cool, by the way. It was 2004. Like, some people.
Yeah, we all had Rios, so.
Yeah. Yes. So I interned over the iPod team, and at the time it was a really small team.
This is while you're still in school, or this is
still in school.
Okay.
So I was a junior going to be a grad student. I skipped my senior year.
Okay.
And my then summer at iPod was, hey, we have this great project that no one else wants to do because it's kind of the grunt work. Will you do it? I'm like, sure, sign me up. I'm in.
And how did you make that connection? Was that
like how did I get into Apple that first time?
Yeah. How did you?
Monster.com. So like I threw my resume in the hat.
You literally just applied online.
Totally, and I emailed them every week saying, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? Am I in yet? Am I in yet? And eventually they called me back. Actually, it was a guy in the iPod team who was also in that same robotics class as me a year earlier, who remembered me, who then called me back, which is really cool. And now he actually runs my software team at Nest. It's all a very small world.
Wow.
It's all a very small world. And actually, Yoki, the professor I just mentioned, is
at Nest now as well.
Is also at Nest now and runs my algorithm team. So it's all a very small world. Actually, my mentor at Apple.
You just poached everybody from there.
Is my co-founder at Nest. Yeah. So it's crazy actually. So
your first project at Apple.
Yes. So I did literally the lowest thing on the totem pole. Yeah. So no one else wanted to do it. So I rewrote all the software for manufacturing for the iPod. Like it was like a project that no one wanted to do. Like all the full-time guys are like, I'd rather work on the firmware or the new hard drive controller or the fancy graphics, and like no one wants to work on manufacturing. So I'm like, great, I'll do it. It sounds awesome. And I worked my ass off because it's kind of a one-year project and I had 3 months to do it. So we had this little cube that actually was for the printers, and they just kind of pushed the printers aside and put a desk there. And that was my office for that
It was
summer.
just you. You were building the whole thing.
Actually, myself and one other guy, this guy Ross, and
who works at Nest as well, or
no, he moved back to Europe.
He didn't last.
He didn't make it. I should give him a call. Actually, he might be good for Nest.
Yeah. Let's call him.
Yeah. So like the two of us basically like had to figure out how does manufacturing work, because we don't know, right? Like we're juniors at the time.
Yeah.
And like we're talking to all the hardware guys in terms of things they need out of manufacturing, and the ops guys in terms of testing and how to make sure quality is great. And we basically cranked it out hard, and 7 days a week, basically 20 hours a day. It was crazy.
Wow. Sleeping there?
Basically sleeping. Actually, sometimes not sleeping.
Yeah.
There was a great weekend. So we were doing the DVT build. I don't know if you guys know Apple acronyms. So it was the kind of the second before final run before you go to production for the iPod Photo. And it was the first time we deployed all of our new software to manufacturing. And it was kind of rocky. It was, literally the first time out the gate. And the next iPod program that was going to ship that fall was dependent on us getting this thing working, because otherwise they couldn't build it in units.
Wow.
It was rough. We basically spent 3 days straight, no sleep, because we were coding all day, and then at night is when China runs. And basically all night was us working with China to make sure things got deployed and listening to feedback and all those kind of things. And we made it out.
Wow.
Like, it actually worked. And that iPod shipped with all of our software. And it came to the point where things went well enough that, so Tony Fidel, then VP of iPod, called me into his office and said, I've never done this before, and this is not something we usually do, but we're going to give you a bonus as an intern.
Wow.
So I got like a cash bonus as a summer intern, which was crazy for Apple. They don't usually do those kind of things. And here's an offer. We want you to start now. I'm like, I got to graduate. I got to finish school, right?
Sure.
He tried to persuade me to stay, and I was going to have it. I went back to school, started back again that May. When I started, kind of day one was we were, I'd say halfway through the first iPod Nano development, and halfway through that kind of next generation iPod Classic at the time. Nano was a really big deal for the company. It was kind of a huge step forward. Smaller Z, using flash memory, really big deal, lots of risk. And as a new guy, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? Like, I knew how manufacturing worked, but in terms of how do you write the software for an iPod, I didn't know.
Oh.
So I come in that first week, I'm learning, talk to lots of people, and I go home for that weekend. And I came back on a Monday, and my boss walked into my office and said, where you been? I'm like, well, I went to buy furniture and all those kind of things. This my first week on the job. He's like, well, you should have been here. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know. So that was kind of setting the pace for how iPod would be for the next 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you, and was it just you? I mean, were you working?
No. So at the at 2005 when I joined, iPod software was about 25 people. Like, kind of iPod total was probably about 100.
Okay.
So we were kind of deep in, basically, I worked in firmware. So drivers, kernel, low-level software, graphics drivers, those kinds of things. And for the first few months, basically try to soak in as much as I can, how things work, contribute wherever I could. Basically, I talked to everybody. I was probably really annoying at the time. Like, what do you do? How can I help you? How can I help you? Those kind of things. And after we shipped, a new project started, and it was kind of at the time something that not a lot of people in the company cared about. So we were working on a new iPod Nano, kind of the thin metal one, but it's kind of old actually, and a Skunkworks project that we called Purple, which at the time then became kind of the first iPhone that we never shipped.
This is when exactly?
So this is December 2005.
Okay.
So very, very early days, kind of first iPhone concepts, like what would that be? And my boss's boss said, like, you're the most junior guy on the team, let's put you on this project. Like we'll see how it goes, you'll let us know.
You crank.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like myself as the first firmware guy, actually a few guys who now work at Google on the kind of the radio cell phone side, and one hardware guy, one project manager, and we went to work on basically a first development platform that became an iPhone. Yeah.
Which then launched, 13 months later, or unveiled, unveiled.
Yeah, unveiled 13 months
13 months later,
yes.
And then launched that following summer.
That June.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the Apple environment. Like, so you've now been at Apple. At that point, you've been there for 2 or 3 years. What, for most of us who never get the experience of working at Apple, most of us who never get the experience of even walking inside of Apple, it's like Fort Knox. What is it like? What are the good things? What are the bad things? Tell us what is it like?
Apple is a unique place. Like, there is no other company in the world like Apple. Like, in terms of the focus, the attention to detail. Well, I don't know about now, but from my times there, incredible intense focus. Like Apple's tens of thousands of people, and they work on like 5 products, right? And those products are awesome, and that goes down to all levels of the company. Like, where every engineer, every designer, every project manager knows like that everything must be awesome, and that's an intense focus everywhere. So in terms of attention to detail, like, you definitely pick that up at Apple pretty quickly. There's definitely a diligence on process as well. Like, we don't miss milestones. And like when you set a schedule, you don't miss your schedule because there's 1,000 other people depending on you to hit your dates. And there's a retail store that wants to get your product and it needs to launch on those dates, all this kind of thing. So there's certainly a rigor that goes with that.
What is the rigor beyond working 7 days a week? Is there a rigor beyond that, or?
Oh, absolutely. So in terms of like the work that you do, like everything must be of the highest quality. So whether it's UI design, it must be perfect.
First draft, first run through must be perfect.
Well, internally, no, but by the time Steve saw it,
Sure.
it had to be perfect.
And it had to get there quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, Steve reviewed every single UI design we did.
Wow.
Every single one. That's like think about like Apple's a.
These are like with him over your shoulder, or these are in the meeting, like your boss's meetings, or what? Where is he reviewing these?
So kind of every other week, Tony would take what we're doing
Yeah.
and show it to Steve, and usually one of the designers would go with him, and Steve would sit up there and say, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, this is good, fix that, and that was it. Yeah, like literally, like if you think about like how companies scale, a lot of startups operate like that, where like the CEO, the founder will go and basically dig into everything in the company. Now, do that on a $200 billion company that has tens of thousands of employees.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
Talk about some of those experiences you had with Steve Jobs. I mean, you interactions you had, or like that. Was it
Yes.
disseminated to you, or did you ever have any kind of funny personal experiences?
So Tony did a really good job filtering, but the few times where he didn't, and myself and a few of the other guys would have to go and present to him, it's pretty tough. Like he was a very intense man, and not afraid to tell you that you're an idiot. Like you would spend 4 months preparing for this meeting and like making everything perfect, and he would just trash it. And that's,
what is your response to that when Steve Jobs tells you you're an idiot? You're like,
we're gonna
yes,
fix
sir.
it. We're gonna fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are correct, sir.
We're gonna fix it. Yeah. It's, that's I think part of the reason why Apple was so great.
Yeah.
Is he was a very intense man. But I don't think that culture works everywhere though. Like I think the Steve Apple dynamic only worked for Apple.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know if it'd work for Apple again.
Sure.
Like, to the point where like the company has changed. I don't know if you can go back. Like once you leave that era, like, can you ever go back?
I want to get to Nest, but let me ask you just one or two more questions about the secrecy. What did you? As you're working on the iPhone.
Yes.
Well, take us back. So
Yes.
you're on this initial team building the iPhone, and
Yes.
you're and what happened?
The rest of the company didn't, like, even my manager didn't know what was going on. It was like crazy cloak and dagger kind of stuff where like people would close doors and locked hallways and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And we spent a good 3-4 months on that initial prototype.
Okay.
That we ended up Tony presenting to Steve, and we ended up killing because it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And we went started on the next one, which we did end up shipping. That's the one we shipped that June. A very, very kind of secretive culture. So iPhone was an exception in that it was the most secretive project Apple had ever done to date. But that I would say, even non-top secret, like DEF CON 4 kind of projects,
Yeah.
are still incredibly secret. Where other people in your own team may not know what's going on. It's a very kind of mistrustful kind of culture from that perspective.
And are you like? Is it like when you're NCAA tournament, like someone walks over your screen, you switch it really quick? I mean,
Oh no,
is it
like you close your door to your office, like.
you're completely isolated, completely separated.
So
you're out of the printer cube at this point.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like closed door office. So like a lot of startups have kind of open like bullpen style where everyone can talk and you go and talk to your neighbor, see what's going on.
That's right.
Apple can't work like that because
Sure.
your neighbor may not be authorized to see your project. And actually, as we got bigger, we actually had to move teams in the company to different areas to lock them down.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's pretty nuts. It was great in that we got a lot of great press and marketing out of our launches, and that's actually a lesson that I learned by keeping things secretive. Like a lot of folks make fun of kind of the stealth mode startup these days, but there is a lot to be said for keeping things close to the chest, not just for competitive reasons, but so that when you launch, people actually care because it's news.
Yeah.
Like if there's rumors and it's already out there, but when you launch, like no one cares that you launched. It's like, oh yeah, it's old news already.
Sure.
So that's why Apple does it. It actually made a ton of sense. And as you have a 20,000 person company, like how do you control that information?
Yeah.
So that's why Apple does it. I mean, it's actually an important thing for the company. It's critical. Like imagine, actually it's happened the last couple times where Apple has a big announcement and it's not news because the last 3-4 weeks it's all been leaked already.
Yeah. How do you? I mean, did you go through some sort of like secret training class? Because I can just imagine that you're building this product and you're so excited about it and you just want to tell everyone about it, but you can't tell anyone about it.
Starts on day one.
Yeah.
So
the orientation, you mean?
Day one orientation.
Yeah.
The first thing you do when you get there, after you basically assign your I-4s or I-9s or whatever it is they have their head of corporate security, who I believe is now a former member of the CIA. Before it was not, but now he's a former head of CIA, and he basically scares the bejesus out of you, like, you will not leak. We will go after your family. You know, it is that important. Like, you do not tell your wife. You do not tell your kids. Like, this is top secret stuff, and the company is depending on you not to tell anybody. And actually, for each new top secret program, we signed additional NDAs to kind of remind you how important it is.
Sure. Talk about when you finally ship the iPhone, and I've heard you talk about this, like a lot of the design elements in the phone and the different UIPs that you guys created are still in the phone, right? What did it feel like to launch and to ship a product like that?
Yeah, so we announced iPhone at Macworld January 2007, and like the previous 4 weeks were insane. Like literally, like I cannot even describe it. Like myself and probably a team of about 25 were over in China, basically hand building them from scratch. We literally were working 24/7, where we actually divided ourselves into 2 shifts, day shift, night shift, to make sure those first 200-300 units were perfect.
Wow.
Because we would show them to press basically at Macworld. So like when we all finally went home right after New Year's and announced at Macworld the next week, it was fantastic. And a lot of us had never seen the full marketing pitch behind the product. Like, we knew everything that it was going to do. We knew the features, but the way Steve put it together in that pitch, like, everyone was super psyched.
Because it's all compartmentalized, right? So like you would have no idea what marketing's doing till you see it.
And actually, a lot of marketing people didn't know what the product was going to do until kind of the last minute. Like, all these things come together at the end.
And what about the software and the hardware?
So all separate. So I was part of the hardware team, albeit I was a software engineer. And we were responsible for building the product. And there was a separate team at Apple at the time, led by Scott Forstall, that was in charge of building the software. And we would meet at some kind of neutral territory to make sure things got together. But for the most part, like, these were totally separate, independent
Crossing a no man's land.
Pretty much. Like, it was some pretty crazy times. Like imagine trying to get a product done in record time that's never been done before, but yet you're not working with the guys who are your counterpart. It was kind of nuts.
So, okay, so when you finally launched, when you finally shipped the product, did Steve come down? I mean, was he finally satisfied with it? I mean, was it something where the team felt like?
I mean, we were far from done. Like, when we announced in January, we were not done. Like, we had 6 more months of really hard work to get it shipped, and that was another hard march.
Was that up from the manufacturing side, or was the software was still
software, hardware, certification? No, we were far from done. It was one of those where we built 200 perfect demo units. Kind of like if you do a big Series A pitch, like you put you're all in to make that demo.
Right.
But
there's no way of scaling.
Like you haven't shipped it yet.
Right.
So we were kind of at that point, and by June we were ready.
Okay. And so that's 2007. You end up leaving Apple in early 2010. Tell us what you did for the rest of your time there.
So like out of that crazy iPhone experience, I basically was being one of the first guys in the program, knew how it all worked.
Yeah.
And through that, basically was kind of a de facto leader. I started leading some of the work on Nano, started working on a new shuffle, and it came to the point where I was basically leading the programs anyway, and Tony basically said, well, why don't you just go do it? And we started building teams around it. We built an entire shuffle team. We built a Nano team, and we basically
When you say building the team, are you pulling internal resources into that team, or are you actually hiring?
Internal and hiring. So I hired probably about 40 people while I was at Apple.
Yeah, and they all worked under you, right, in these different groups?
Yes.
Yeah.
So by the time I left in 2010, I had a team working on iPod Shuffle full stack, kind of part stack of Nano, and components of iPhone, iPad, Apple TV.
Wow. So talk about, so you get to May 2010. You've worked for this big company, your dream company.
My dream job, seriously.
You had your dream job, and tell us what's going through your head. Tony and you started talking in what, late 2009? Is that right?
So Tony left about a year earlier.
Yeah.
And he was vacationing in France and building a really fancy house.
Sure.
So,
Would-
like, what do you do after SVP of iPod and
You
iPhone?
build a home in France.
Yes, in this case, Tahoe, like crazy house in Tahoe, and he was visiting the Bay Area, kind of supervising construction and meeting with people, and we got lunch, and I was like, Tony, I want to start a company, and I want to start a company with you. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to build a smart home company. He's like, you're an idiot. No one wants to buy a smart home. Like very Steve-esque. No one wants to buy a smart home. Smart homes are for geeks. You got to focus on one thing. And we started talking about his home because, in effect, he actually was building a smart home. And we're geeks, right? He's got solar panels and geothermal heat pumps and all this crazy stuff and the blinds that close themselves automatically. And we talked about kind of all this, the lay of the land, what he's learned, and the lack of grid thermostats. Seriously, like it's that, like thermostats, like who cares?
Yeah.
And we were talking about kind of the things that he was seeing in his house, and he's like, well, why don't you just build me a thermostat? And I was like, well, why not? We could build an iPod. He's like, we'll do it in 6 months. Like.
Wait, so but you independently had this idea you wanted to build a smarter, devices inside of a smarter home, and he is going through, he's basically has the exact same problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So
that
was the total coincidence.
Wow.
So this has been a thing throughout my career and throughout my career working with Tony is we think very much alike, and actually that's one of the reasons why we're good partners. To the point like where we complete each other's sentences, and like I'm able to anticipate what he's looking for, and vice versa. And when he's worried, I'm able to fix his worries, and when I'm worried, he can help fix mine. It's like really nice.
Yeah.
Like it's a kind of the ideal relationship when you have a co-founder. I don't know if I would be able to do it without him. So we basically got to talking, and we're like, well, we could do this, right? We could build an iPod, we could build a thermostat. Very naive at the time. Albeit we did
This
do
is
it.
all over one conversation?
This is all one conversation. So
Yeah.
we had like a two-hour lunch over it.
And where did that come from you to say, hey, I want to start to leave Apple, it's time for me to leave Apple, or just I want to start something, I want to build something on my own? What was the motivation for you to get to that point?
I was ready to start something on my own. It was at the point where we were working on like iPod Nano version 9 or something like that, and iPhone version 4, and it got kind of repetitive, and we were ready to kind of do something totally new. Like it felt right. Like it felt like time to go build something totally new. Like, could we take all of the Apple DNA that we've learned over the years and apply it to something that has none? And the home felt like the right thing.
Yeah.
But we had to focus on one concrete problem that we could go solve.
Yep.
So we started talking about thermostats, and we spent about 6 months doing basically research, like market research, product research, competitive research, like how can we do it differently? And it made a lot of sense. Like it turns out that thermostats are responsible for half of home energy. Obnoxiously large.
Just a coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, from you guys saying, hey, thermostats need to be disrupted.
So we thought it was kind of a small side project.
Yeah.
That, like I could probably do on the side. Like 6 people, 6 months, just knock it out.
Yeah.
And the more we dug, the more we learning about the process, the more we realized that this is a company we must go start. So, like kind of 10% of U.S. energy. So epic problem, no innovation, multi-billion-dollar market. Like why would we not go do this? And spring of 2010, we kind of pushed the green button. I quit my job at Apple, and we rented a garage down on Alma Street in Palo Alto, and we got started on the concept. And I started making rounds and calling all my old buddies saying, hey, will you quit your job? Will you come work with us on a new project I can't tell you about? We tried to mimic Apple for a while, and to get people to quit their job, making
without knowing
buco bucks to not know what they're going to work on and not get paid.
Did it work?
It worked for a while.
Yeah.
It worked for a long while. Well, one, because we didn't actually know what we were doing for the first 6 months. So like those first 10 hires that joined our team, like we made them all like huge partners. Like they're all still in the company. They're all still heavily involved. They're all basically run each of these kind of independent teams we have now. We basically hired our seed crystals for the whole company.
Yeah.
And they bet on us and we bet on them, and it worked really well. Like we all worked for no pay for 6 months until we raised our Series A, and it was totally worth it.
Wow.
Like we made huge bets and it paid off.
Talk about leaving Apple. So you have your dream job. You've been running these amazing projects for 4 or 5 years. How do you then get the confidence, the moxie, whatever, to leave that comfort and jump into this thing where you're not making any money. You're working with this guy who's this legendary guy who you respect more than anybody. But how do you jump? How do you do that?
That was a hard one. It was honestly probably the hardest decision of my life. I mean, Apple was my dream job. I was making tons of money.
Sure.
Like, the stock was like on this, like the craziest rise of all time. And I had to do it. Like, it was one of those kind of like guttural, emotional things where like I had to go do it. It was like my family told me not to do it. Like, my friends like, I think you're crazy. And I was on this killer career
Then they all
path
came
at
to
Apple.
work for you.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it was one of those like irrational decisions, but yet balanced with this enormously rational opportunity that we understood the market. We understood how we would go do it differently. Like, Tony, super known quantity. Like, we could go raise money, get PR. Like we had all those things that you'd look for in kind of early DNA. And the only question was, could we build a team? Could we do it fast enough? Could we do it within budget? And I was like, sure. And
There's no one's getting paid, so that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah. Well, it costs a lot of money to build hardware. Like,
sure.
All manufacturing, prototyping is pretty expensive. And it took a lot longer than we thought. It took a lot more people than we thought.
And so did you guys, was that Tony putting in his money? Was that you guys, everybody chipping in a little bit, or what was it?
So we basically bootstrapped ourselves.
Yeah.
Where I basically paid for the facilities and kind of some prototyping out of pocket. Tony chipped in a bunch too, and that got us enough to build some prototypes, get some ID models going, and we raised a Series A October 2010.
You're not Apple anymore. You don't have the leverage that you had. You can't just, where does that start? Where you've got this idea. Where do you begin?
So I think it was one thing and one thing only. It was relationships. So it was relationships with former employees, former classmates, former professors. It was relationships with former partners, guys like TI, guys like Samsung, people we worked with back at Apple, and who we helped build
Texas Instrument, TI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
The guys who we made enormous businesses
TI.
with.
Yeah.
And when it came down to doing this new product, we called our old team.
Yeah.
And a lot of them didn't believe in us. A lot of them, wanted to rest invest, and some of them were like, "I'm in. Like, this is just the uniquely new thing that is incredibly exciting that I'm looking for." And we built a very small, tight-knit team, and it's one of those teams where we work together, we eat together, we hang out together, we go on vacations together. It's one of those kind of solid core teams that
these are all your Apple buddies. You've been doing this with them for 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a mixture of kind of my old team at Apple, my old professor from CMU, and a few folks from Tony's early days at General Magic, basically 20 years earlier. So, I don't know if you guys know the history of kind of the crazy companies in Silicon Valley. So General Magic was one of the largest funded companies in the early 90s. Like, their goal was to build this, basically mobile tablet computer. It was kind of a new idea at the time. And it was like the most funded company of all time. And it had the tightest group of smart engineers ever. So basically the original Mac team was there. Andy Rubin was there. Like Tony Fadell was there, right? Like, these, basically all of the great guys, great guys in Silicon Valley all came through General Magic at the time.
Wow.
It was like where all the great talent was. And we basically called up all those guys who were basically interns back with Tony then, and all got them to leave their jobs. And one of the guys was a VP of Twitter. One guy was running Microsoft's user experience team for basically their set-top boxes, and we got started. So it's kind of unlike most startup teams in that I think the average age of our team was about 40.
Yeah.
I think I was the youngest guy on the team.
And are these guys cranking like you're cranking?
Oh yeah, we were all working basically 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and it was crazy. Like, and not everyone was like living in the office. People had families, so like they go home for dinner and then come back.
Wow.
It was craziness. Like that first Thanksgiving, like that November, we worked that entire Thanksgiving. We took a few hours off that dinner.
Thanksgiving Day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. I mean.
And how many of these guys stayed married, or?
Oh, they all did. They did.
Yeah.
I had to think about it for a minute. No, they all did. I think a few wives were pissed.
They were separated, but no one's divorced. No, I'm just kidding.
All the wives are pretty happy now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So we see all these hardware things popping up, like Kickstarter, right? There's all these hardware companies popping up. Oh, what a cool device! And then it's just like gone, ruined, right? So
that's a really funny thing.
What are these guys? what do I need if I'm starting a hardware company? What do I need? What are the ingredients? What's what are the secret ingredients to just to get something out?
Honestly, like it's kind of cool to me to say, but the first thing you need is talent. Like, I don't believe I could build Nest, one, if I didn't have all that experience at Apple, and Tony didn't have all the experience at Apple.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pull off fully integrated consumer electronics devices. It's really hard. I mean, if you look at like kind of around, not just the Valley, but kind of around the world, like what great companies build hardware.
Yeah.
There's maybe half a dozen, maybe not even half a dozen.
Yeah.
Like great companies, right? Like there's some good ones, not like great ones. Like in terms of like new companies, like you have like guys like Sonos. There aren't too many others, right?
Yeah.
So getting that kind of experience at Apple, I think, was priceless. I don't know if I'd be able to do it otherwise. And also, dollars. It's really expensive to build a CE product. Not just from you got to build prototypes, but you got to build tools. You got to get a manufacturing line set up. You got to front inventory costs. It's crazy expensive.
So when you guys originally brainstormed this idea, hey, we can build a team, 5 or 6 people, we'll take 6 months. What was the reality of your product?
The reality was when we launched about a year and a half later since the company started, about a year after we were at Series A, and we were about 75 people, and we had spent probably about $10 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's about as fast as it possibly.
Yeah, that's as efficient as
yes,
it could possibly
this is
be
a
done.
team of extremely senior guys,
Yeah.
who all have done this a dozen times before.
Yeah.
And the difference between doing a dozen times before at Apple or Samsung or Google and doing it on your own is that there's no backup.
Yeah.
So like, at Apple, we basically work on the product for a year, get it ready, and then hand it over to the operations team to go scale and go shoot the moon with. And we got to our production run, and we look around, and we're like, "Where's the ops team? Let's go get them." And like literally, spent the next 3 months in China
Figuring out ops,
getting it all built.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the time, the guy who was our lead PM, Shige Hanjo, early iPhone guy as well. He was basically our project manager for the whole new Nest program. He previously did the iPhone for Verizon, and he's like, "All right, we got to ship it, so I'm in charge of ops now." And he went and basically got it all figured out then too. So
Wow.
that was that first year was about wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
Like that was the other big learning experience for not just me but the whole team.
Yeah.
Because we all had basically roles that we played at previous companies, and that all went out the window at Startup Land.
Yeah.
You got HR hat, facilities hat, janitor hat. Doesn't matter. You got to do it.
Yeah.
I have a picture of Shige sweeping the floor in our garage before an investor would come over. Like we do it. We do whatever it would take.
Well, it's like when you first started Apple, right? It's like, hey, you're going to do this manufacturing software. It's
Yes.
like, well, how? And
Yeah.
you just kind of figured it out.
Yes. Part of I think that learning was not just figuring out how to do it, but be willing to do whatever it takes. Like even if it's like the janitorial work. Like I literally unclogged the toilets in the garage in the early days. Like you got to do it.
That's when you wish you didn't have the 40-year-old guys.
Yeah, seriously. But that's part of it. Like
It's true right there. That's real talk right there.
I got to be real. Like it's a startup. Like
Right.
there's no backstop. You got to do it.
Yeah. Well, there was a backstop, but yeah. So, and what about, let's talk about you building this engineering team. This is one of the greatest mysteries in the Valley right now. Everyone, like you talking about, I'm looking for engineers, whatever. Talk about building a great team. How do you, first of all, how do you quantify a great engineer in your mind?
Ooh, so, I mean, there's a few different kind of axes that we look for. And the biggest one above all is passion. So, even back in
Passion in general, or do you mean passion on a specific product or problem, or
passion towards what we're working
whatever you're working on?
And we may not tell a candidate everything that they're going to work on.
Sure.
We may not tell them even the product they're going to work on, but kind of passion towards the space, passion towards the company means a hell of a lot, because that passion means they're going to go the extra mile to learn, to do, to grow. So there's passion. There's I would say technical chops.
Yeah.
But that's more or less a known quantity. Like people know how to interview for great technical talent, and there's tons of great technical talent in the Valley. I think the key is finding that mix of great technical talent, great passion, and that team fit. So I still interview every candidate we have at Nest.
You have about
we have about 200 people today.
200 people.
And I interview every single one.
Wow.
And there's a reason why is that we have no jackasses. It was kind of in the early days, like when we're building the company, like talking about culture, like what kind of things do we want to do differently?
Yeah.
And Apple hired the smartest engineers out there. That's kind of where they stopped.
Yeah.
We decided that there's lots of smart people out there. Let's get the smartest people that are easy to work with. Yeah, it was an innovation, and it means a lot more. It's a small company. There are no walls. There are no divisions. Like it's one room, and you're gonna be living with this guy.
Yeah.
So you gotta love him, right?
Right. And talk, how many people have gotten to that final interview with you, and have you axed?
I probably turned down about 25%.
Wow.
If I were to guess. And these are people like the entire
Pre-vetted,
team
everyone loves, they're ready to go.
Like no.
Yeah.
No, like he's got an ego, or I think he's political, or he's just something didn't feel
not
right.
Not gonna fit. Yeah. Talk about passion too, because so they've got to be passionate. In your example, they've got to be passionate about this kind of this evolution of the home space.
Right.
But I mean, you're working on a thermostat at the moment. Not that I'm implying you're working on anything else, but you probably are. But don't answer that. But how do you, I mean, it's a thermostat. So like you're talking about passion, right? It's like, did you just find like the 200 guys in that valley? They're like, gosh, I have got to disrupt thermostats right now.
So the irony of that is now, yes.
They're coming out of the woodwork.
Like now, yes. Like it is so much easier to hire now that we're public and doing well. Like
sure.
Not public like isn't public, but public isn't other.
Your product is public.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
In the early days when we were fully stealth, like when I said fully stealth, I mean like we had no website, we had no LinkedIn, we had nothing, like zero outbound communication, and like the fact that Tony was involved in the company was a secret, and I wouldn't tell people that. Like for all they know, it was
your company.
I'm
Tony had nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Wow.
And to get people in the door the first time meant I did a lot of lunches, lots of coffees to get people excited, and I wouldn't tell people on the first date. Well, I wouldn't show. I would show a little leg, but like I wouldn't go all the way. And to get people.
Well, you're wearing shorts, right? You're in the garage. So they're seeing it.
I always wear pants. Basically to get people excited enough that maybe I'll want to see what's going on. Like a bunch of my old colleagues, what are they working on?
Yeah.
To get them in the door, and then when we got them in the door, show them a little bit more leg and show them kind of what the opportunity is. This is half of home energy.
Yeah.
No one solved it. No innovation. We could do this.
Yeah.
And people signed up. About 70 people signed up before we launched.
Wow. So you're great at getting these people in the door. How do you keep them engaged? How do you continue to challenge this group of 200 that are not all engineers, but this huge group of engineering talent? What do you do once you finally get them? How do you keep them engaged?
So this is actually, again, lessons learned from Tony at Apple is you keep the pace super fast. Huh. So like after you give birth to a baby, sometimes there's like kind of postpartum depression, and it's important to kind of get over that time very fast. So we have incredibly rapid schedules where, yes, we have maybe 9 or 12 month product development schedules.
Sure.
But as soon as we ship that product, we got new stuff to work on immediately afterwards. And just you keep raising the bar in terms of the things we're going to work on. And it's great for the company. We're shipping amazing products, and we're doing it year after year after year. And it's great for the team that there's always new stuff we're working on. You've got to have those hard problems. And I think like some people are looking for kind of title-based career paths, and that's something that we screen out very early in the interview process. Like we're a no titles company.
Well, it's interesting. You're all like the heads, like you're VP of engineering, right? And you got a VP of marketing. At most startups, it's like, hey, well, who's the CMO? Who's the the CEO? Who's this? And it doesn't seem to be that way at Nest.
Yeah, we try to keep it a no title. Like there's a few people in the company that are outward facing, like Tony and I.
Sure.
And we have to have titles because press people ask us what the hell your title is, and we gotta have something to say, right?
Right.
But no one in the company, other than basically executives, have titles. And like, yes, that we have managers, but we don't have manager titles. And if you develop career paths that are not title centric and more kind of, I would say, opportunity centric, and making sure those opportunities are always available for people who want to take them. Where I'll give you the example. So like Harry Tenenbaum, it was he started about a year ago, and he was kind of fresh college grad, spent about a year as an analyst on Wall Street, basically the most junior guy in the totem pole. We brought him in, and he was our first kind of business analyst. And we're like, the opportunity is yours. You're the first guy on the team. Like you could either be the first guy on the team and grow an entire organization, build a business, and drive growth, or you could be a great individual contributor. And the opportunity was his, and he took it. And now a year later, he's got a team of 3, and they are basically running the business at Nest, and he's 23.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So part of what I think about keeping great talent is giving them those opportunities, and that goes to the whole spectrum. So on the other side of the spectrum, a guy like Ed Satterswaith, so another General Magic talent from way back in the day, except he was the old guy back then at General Magic. Like he was kind of the graybeard then, and he's about 70 now. And for him, he's like, this is my last job. I want to make sure this is a great one.
No kidding.
And he works on the craziest hard firmware problems, like figuring out how to sip power from wires through relays, heaters and heating and cooling equipment. Like he's doing crazy stuff. And
he's not working 7 days a week. Come on.
He's working 6-7 days a week.
Wow.
He walks to work every day. Like again, it's that passion. Yeah. So give him really hard problems, and we have a mission. It's not just about serving more ads.
Sure.
Right. It's about how do we solve 10% of U.S. energy.
Talk a little bit about, let's talk about venture capital. So you raised this initial round in the fall of 2010. You guys have maybe or maybe not raised a significant amount of more money. What's important about raising money? What have you learned about venture capital? I mean, you had like the perfect. Some would say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, looking from the outside, it's like, oh, it's a perfect situation. It's all these ex-Apple engineer guys. Like, they could raise from anybody. They just walk in the door and, like, smile, and they're going to get money. I mean, what was the reality of your fundraising experience with Nest?
We didn't pitch a lot of VCs.
You don't want them to know?
We didn't want them to know, exactly. Yeah. Precisely.
Those are the last people to trust.
Yeah. So the few that we did were ones that we knew someone at the firm.
Okay.
So at KP it was Randy Komisar. Tony and Randy would bike together on weekends, kind of up and down Portola Valley. And
he's circle of trust kind of guy.
Exactly, so. Like guy we could trust. So we went in and talked to Randy basically one-on-one. This is what we're up to, and he's like, this is awesome. I want to invest. But that's not how VCs work. They have partnerships. They have to convince their partners, and that was a different story. The partner's like, a thermostat company? Who cares, right? Like why does that matter? And it was a very hard grilling session where Tony, Eric, who runs our sales and marketing team, and I basically sat there with the Kleiner partnership getting grilled on why this is a company they should fund.
Yeah.
And
this is that initial funding. This is when you haven't raised anything. You've been cranking for 6 months. And then you go in and, hey, this is what we got. Did you have a working prototype at that point or no?
So we did, but we didn't bring it. So VCs don't have great imaginations, right? They're not product people. Well, some of them are, but most aren't, right? So we showed kind of ID concepts, slides of what we were doing. And if we were to bring in a circuit board with some sensors hanging out, like what is that, right? Or some like sketches of what the UI would be. Right. So the goal was to show the magic without actually digging into kind of the nuts and bolts, because honestly, like, unless you have a lot of imagination, you may not see the leap on how to get from A to B.
Yeah. So you basically are pitching, hey, this is what we built in the past. We were the guys that built the iPhone. We're the guys that worked on all these generations of the iPod and the iPad. We can build this.
So it was team.
Yeah.
It was market. So very clear market, very clear opportunity. How are you going to sell it? What's your go-to-market? How are you going to get the word out? What's your margins? How are you going to grow the business? And actually, it was very business-centric. Like, we spent, I would say, 25% of the time talking about product and team, and the rest talking about business. Like, what does the business look like? Why is this an opportunity that they should invest in? And like, to this day, even in our board meetings, that's what we spend most of our time on, is how are we growing the business, basically week by week. Like, what are the metrics we're tracking? And we're very much a Apple-style program managed kind of company where we do the entire company that way. Like, we basically dashboard the entire company, and we track metrics week to week, even in things that people usually don't track.
Like what?
So I'll give you the example of, I'd say, like, awareness. So we track awareness, we track conversions, we track...
What is awareness? How do you measure awareness?
We do it mostly through polls. So we... like
your own polls, or?
We don't say it's from us, like anonymous, not like SurveyMonkey, but like we basically have some of our marketing partners go and survey general public and get a nice representative sample of, do people know who Nest is?
Yeah.
And that's a metric we track every week.
Yeah.
We track NPS, so Net Promoter Score. So for our customers, do people love us? Do they hate us? Would they recommend Nest to a friend? And part of our thesis is that if we have an exceptional experience, if we have a really high Net Promoter Score, that our customers are our promoters, and they will advertise for us. And so far, so good.
Let's just one or two more questions on venture capital. Talk to us about some of the things. If I'm an early stage entrepreneur, I'm in that garage. I'm starting to pitch. What are maybe the two most important things that you found that has been either critical to have or critical not to have in a venture capitalist?
So the money is actually the least important part.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't know this at the time when we were first raising our first rounds. It was my first time, and honestly, it was Tony's first time too. Like, we were new at it, so we picked someone that he knew personally, and that worked well. But knowing what I know now, picking someone who's going to be your partner. So someone who's going to have a long view on the company, or he's going to ride out the waves that are really peaky, like you're like enormous launch, awesome, great sales. What are we going to do next? Like keeping that pace going, like riding out the big humps, and also riding out the troughs. So if you have a really horrible week, a horrible month, he's got the long view in the company, and he's going to be your sounding board. So we use our board as literally a sounding board for the company, where we've made all the decisions on where we're going, what the strategy is, what the next product is, what the marketing plan is, all those kinds of things. But we still present the entire plan to the board because we want to hear their opinion. Like, are we thinking things correctly? So finding someone who's going to be your mentor for the company. So Randy at KP is like a Zen master. And I think literally he is a Zen master, like in the Buddhist style. And he's our coach. And when I'm having a rough week, I give him a call, and he talks me through it. And
he's like a Zen master.
Literally Zen master, like,
oh, wow.
Shaved head on mountain kind of Zen master.
We all are. That's the way to tell us.
So like, having someone who's your partner is absolutely key. Huh. Having someone who's not afraid to give you the hard advice.
Yeah.
I think there were times when our early board told us things that we probably didn't want to hear, like, hey, you should wait another month to work out these 3 issues, or maybe you should not put all your eggs in one basket in terms of retail channels. And it was good they told us, because in a lot of cases they were right.
Yeah.
Like, we waited a month to ship, and we worked out the issues, and we had a great launch. We did put all our eggs in the Best Buy basket, and they fell apart, and we ended up having to scramble how to build a new retail channel from scratch. And we ended up going with Lowe's, which ended up being awesome for us.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, the big box stores, they're dying, right? I worked at EA for 5 years, and it's just like this, the trend in video games, as well as probably anything. I mean, this, big box stores are going away, and you're this like super innovative, high tech, Apple team company in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto, and you're selling at Lowe's, right? So talk to us about that. How relevant are the big box stores still? Is it still the best distribution channel for something like your product? And you sell online as well, so it's you sell on Amazon, you sell on these different channels. But talk to us about that.
So honestly, you got to have retail.
Okay.
Like, if you're selling a tangible product, I think touch feel, you can't beat it. You can't. And I mean, not just from a consumer experience perspective, like being able to walk up and touch the product, but from an awareness perspective, like, people still shop at retail, and having that, in our case at Lowe's, a 10-foot end cap as soon as you walk in the door, you can't miss it. Like, what is that product that draws you in?
Yeah.
You can't beat that. It's like having a billboard as soon as you walk in the store.
Yeah.
So there's channel marketing, and also, like, we sell a ton through retail today. I mean, online is a huge component of our business. Like, Amazon drives a ton of sales, but from a new customer awareness perspective,
comes in the store.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they may walk in the store and then buy it on Amazon.
Yeah. What percentage would you say is retail versus online?
It varies throughout the year. So like holiday time, it was more like half and half. Now it's kind of shifted more towards retail. It really depends on, so gift giving season, people know the gift they want to give.
Right.
They're going to buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's shipped immediately.
That's right.
Now it's kind of going into cooling season. You're shopping in home improvement. It's the place to be for our category.
How did you, as a startup, how did you get into retail? I mean, how did you guys go out to Minneapolis and pitch Best Buy? How did that even happen?
So the first connection was through Rob Coney at Shasta.
Okay.
So our other Series A investor. He introduced us a guy, Rick Rommel at Best Buy, who was running basically their new products team. And we met with him kind of in the back room of an Italian restaurant in Palo Alto, Eric and I, and we didn't tell him anything. It was very much like my employee pitch.
I'm seeing a common
we didn't tell him anything.
here.
We didn't tell him anything. Just like, I basically gave him the best, like, I'm excited pitch I could possibly give him, and we're building an entirely new category. This is something you guys need to be a part of. You do not sell products in this category today. It's an enormous growth driver. We will drive traffic to your store. And it was enough to get another meeting. And then Eric flew out to Minneapolis and basically gave him the pitch. And they're like, we want to test it first. So they tested it in a store in San Carlos, in the peninsula, one in Texas and one in Chicago. And the test was phenomenal. Like we were doing like 30 per store per week, which I don't know if you guys know retail. That's insane. Like most products sell like 1 to 2 per store per week. We were doing 30.
Yeah.
So like off the charts. And then like, all right, let's scale nationally with Best Buy.
Just like that.
Just like that. Let's go scale nationally. And the company fell apart. Like all at the same time. Like
Wow.
The CEO resigned. Our team got fired at Best Buy. Like total turmoil. We're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like we built all this inventory. Like where's it gonna go? And Eric, being a very sharp guy, was like, he's gonna make it happen. So basically, full company pivot. Like, what channels can we go establish? So he called, all the guys who may have showed interest in the early days, but let's get serious with them. So that was Lowe's and Amazon, and we moved very quickly. And basically, spring 2011, basically scaled up to 500 or so Lowe's stores and all of Amazon.com, and got amazing placement. So part of being an innovative company is that we're elevating not only their brand, but we're bringing people into the store. So at the time, Lowe's had an exclusive. So the only retail store you could buy was Lowe's, and that brought people to the store. And as more people got in the store, more people bought Nest. They're like, let's scale this nationally.
How are they even hearing about it? Is it because of your kind of PR marketing machine? This whole stealth, I'm not talking about my product, is now coming back full circle.
Exactly.
With selling your product.
Yeah. So when we launched in October, it was, I would say, total PR blitz, like something that I've never seen before. So like we had kind of a launch party that night, and we invited a ton of people, like a lot of our old friends and executives from Apple, and Steve Dowling, who runs Apple PR, was like, "How did you guys pull this off?" And we used their playbook. That's how we did it. So like total secret. Like so like we would send an email. Like we had one in-house person for doing PR, and she would email a contact that she knew. At Time or CNN or Gizmodo or Engadget, and say, hey, I'm at a new company. It's called Nest. I can't tell you anything about it. Can't tell you who's involved, but we should come pitch you. And then her and Tony would get on a plane, go visit that reporter, and they'd be shocked that it was Tony. They didn't expect that to happen, and then they were totally shocked it was a thermostat, and that actually became part of our pitch. Like it's a thermostat? What the fuck? Why? And then Tony would do the whole story about half of home energy, super important, no innovation, and we would basically convince the reporter in the span of 3 or 5 minutes how critical this product is. And the embargo date is this. Will you write about it? Okay, I probably will. And we did that to about 50 people. And
he flew and personally pitched 50 people.
Yeah, Tony and Kate, our head of PR, flew basically around the country and pitched about 50 or so people, and all of them wrote. Like it was like we didn't expect it. We expected like maybe 1 or 2. Like most of them would blow us off, but people believed. Like they saw like the opportunity. Like this is a real problem that no one's really paid attention to. We were honestly very surprised. Like we thought not only would it take longer for the press to understand, we thought it would take longer for the consumer to understand. And like that's actually where we misguessed.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be a much slower ramp in the beginning, that people would have to warm up to the idea.
Yep.
That we'd have to educate the consumer, and people got it.
People understood immediately.
Yeah, like, oh my God, I have one of these. It sucks. I hate that thing. It's ugly. It doesn't work. There's a better way.
Yeah, it's an iPhone thermostat. Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we never pitched it this way, but people would call it the iPod of thermostats.
Right. Well, let's we're gonna just wrap up here, but I want to talk about so where you went from that, October launch, spring 2011 launch, to where you are today, and you guys have had massive growth, and you've ramped up from how many people were you when you launched?
So when we first introduced the product, we were about 70, and now we're about 200.
You're 200.
A year and a half later.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and we'll probably hire another 100 people today.
You're one of the most
next year.
And you're one of the most well-funded.
Not today. It's probably impossible.
You're gonna do what?
We'll probably hire another 100 people this year.
Okay. You gonna interview all of them?
Every single one. Yeah.
Awesome. What has happened from there? So you have this huge blitz, this great reception. What has the company done? You built that with 70 people. What are you now doing with the 200?
So one of the big things was growth. So yes, we established this great channel with Lowe's and Amazon, but we need to reach more people.
Yeah.
So we brought more retail chains. So we brought up all of Apple. So Apple is, like, most people think of Apple as the consumer brand, but Apple actually is an amazing retail brand too. And Apple, and you guys have all probably been to an Apple store. Like, that place is packed.
Sure.
Like, they're probably the most profitable by square foot company.
It is, yeah.
In the world.
Right.
And it's great. So we're in every Apple store. That was a big deal. We brought up Home Depot in Canada. Like, our friends in the north. We started working with contractors. So basically guys who install heating and cooling equipment today. We started working on a certified channel.
Yep.
So that we would basically train and certify installers to then
Completely hands off. Yeah, you can either purchase the product or you can purchase it with somebody to come install it.
Exactly. So there's tens of thousands of potential evangelists out there who could basically be working to sell our product every day when they're in people's homes. So we started working with that. We actually came back with Best Buy. So Best Buy, basically a year and a half later, more or less got their act together, and now we're basically nationwide with Best Buy. And we spent the entire year basically building out all these great channels for people to buy the product. But as I said earlier, like, you got to keep your engineers busy. You got to work on great new things. And what we realized after we launched the product and basically listening to our customer feedback for the first month or two is that we got a few things wrong. Like, we didn't get it all right out the gate, and we basically got to work on the second generation immediately. And we introduced that literally exactly a year later from the first one. And the idea was we missed on compatibility. So for the highest end homes, for basically our best customers, we couldn't support them.
Yeah, you were at what was the percentage of compatibility with the first generation?
So the first one is about 70%.
Okay.
And that was 70%, basically 70% of the bottom of the market.
Yeah, you missed
we missed the top.
Yeah.
And those are our best customers. Like, basically we couldn't support them.
So you're dealing with a lot of returns, or are you dealing with?
No. We anticipated it ahead of time and actually built a widget on our website to walk people through, are they compatible or not. So we didn't get a lot of returns, but we were basically turning away customers. It didn't make any sense. So we're like, we got to fix this immediately. So we got to work with basically in lightning fast hardware speed. Basically 10 months later, introduce our new product, which was the second generation. That's what we're selling today, and have about 95% compatibility. And at the same time, we thinned it, built a all new design, made it a little more sexy. If you could make a thermostat more sexy, we did. Yeah.
Oh, you can. Talk to us about the future of the home. You've been thinking and working. So when the time you pitched Tony, you guys sat down. How long had you been thinking about this problem for previous to that point?
For probably about a year.
A year before.
So I would say Apple TV had been a hobby at Apple. It's a great team working on it, but not something that they put on a pedestal like their iPhone or the iPad.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an opportunity to do great home products, and I saw that. Tony saw that. It was actually quite coincidental that we met exactly at the same time at this, the right place.
With that same intersection.
Basically the same thought.
So you've been thinking about it for like 5 years, almost. So what does the future of the home look like? My version of the future of the home is like centered around that Bill Gates, Newsweek article. Do you remember that when it talked about his painting?
Like $20 million house. Or
it was insane. It was like, oh, no one's ever going to have that. That's like the Bill Gates home. But what does it look like? What should we expect?
So I don't believe people want to have an IT staff for their home. That's one of them. Like today, a lot of these large home automation systems, people have literally IT staff.
Yeah.
At Tony's house, he has
even for internet, people have IT staff just for their
Yeah.
Just that one.
Seriously,
secure, ultra secure internet. You have to have an IT person to run it for you.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Tony has a closet in his house full of server racks.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. So being able to bring great products to the home is what we're about. And people say home automation or smart home, and I agree with Tony. That's not what people want. People want great stuff. So they want a great thermostat. They want great product X. They want great product Y. And
Y being?
You tell me, right? So
better if you told us.
People want great stuff.
Yeah.
They want to upgrade their lives. And if those products, if you could roll them out one at a time,
right.
And those are great experiences, and they're great experiences on their own. But if the sum is greater than the parts, when you start tying things together, I think that's what the future looks like. When you buy a great product from Samsung or a great product from Apple or a great dishwasher or a great product from Nest, if there's some way that those products could work together, share data, communicate, maybe we've all won.
And do you think that stops at anything? I mean, do you think is it everything in the home literally, or are there some things that are off limits? Like,
So honestly, I think over time all products will be connected, but I think that's a very long road. I think that's a 10 or 15-year road. It's not a like you hear a lot about the Internet of Things today. I think that's a very long time away. I think the Internet of Things is probably a 10-year kind of vision.
which in engineer speak is like what, 20 years or something, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in Apple
years.
speak, it's going to be 3 years, right?
Right.
Yes. The adding more connectivity, more intelligence, more sensing to the home is like a very long-term kind of vision.
Yeah.
Doing it discreetly, one product at a time, is something that Nest is all about.
Great. Let's line up for questions. If you want to ask a question, just kind of come stand here right in the middle, and we'll take those in just 1 second. I want to ask you just and finish off here about you guys have you've attracted attention by your competitors, right?
Yeah.
People are now coming after you guys. Talk about that day that you get that letter in the mail. How scary is that for you? And what do you like? How do you deal with it? How do you move forward? With being attacked by your competitors?
Honestly, it was kind of the opposite. It was invigorating. It was actually validation. So if one of the biggest companies in the world wants to sue you, you've obviously made it. Like that's like you're on the map. Like they're not going to try to squash a bug. Like you must have made it. So like that was great. The other is like we believe a lot in what we do, and we will defend it to the death. Like that's what we do. So not only do we believe in it, but we'll put money where mouth is. And we actually hired a buddy from Apple who used to run their IP team to run our team for our entire legal team. And Chip is an awesome guy, and like he knows the playbook, and he's going to play it. He's going to play it till the end. And I think our competitor is quite surprised at how well we're playing this game. Like we're playing it like any of the big boys would.
Let's give Matt a huge round of applause.
Yeah.